Donkey Kong is one of the best-selling and most iconic platforming series of all time. Unlike the Mario Bros. Series, which has power-ups to give variety to the gameplay, DK incorporates animal buddies as level gimmicks, bringing in the main monkey's friends from around the animal kingdom to wreak some havoc and mix up the level mechanics. Some animal buddies are iconic, being on the cover of the games, while others are all but forgotten. Today we're going to look at every animal buddy and rate them based on how likely they are to come back in the game in the future, with a little bit of my own opinion sprinkled in on if I want them to actually return. If you like the video, be sure to subscribe as we're trying to hit 3K on the channel and grow the DK fan base. Now let's get into the first animal buddy. Of course we have to start with the most famous of them all, Rambi. It wouldn't be a Donkey Kong game without him. This rhinoceros is on the cover of the original Country game, and was the only buddy to come back in a playable state for the Returns reboot, and is now in Lego form. Whenever we do get another DK game, Rambi coming back is a guaranteed lock. This rhino can defeat almost any enemy, smash through rocks or walls, and can bring speed to levels with his charge attack. I'll be glad to see him back. Squawks is also one of the most iconic animal buddies. He had a sizable presence in the original trilogy, and while he didn't return as a playable buddy in Returns, he did come back as an item and as somewhat of a buddy in the form of a helper. He can be bought from Cranky and equipped, and the parrot will squawk when a puzzle piece is nearby. However, I think his appearance in DKC2 as a flying parrot with vertical gameplay is his best iteration. He'll most likely be in the next DK game, but has mixed chances of actually being a true animal buddy or not. I really want him to fly again, and think it's an A or B tier chance that it's possible. Quawks is a purple version of Squawks, and unlike his green counterpart, he cannot fly upwards or spit eggs to kill enemies. This makes Quawks seemingly inferior as an animal buddy, but these limitations make him unique for gameplay. Quawks excels at descending around obstacles in a vertical level. Overall, Quawks is a lot less likely to come back than Squawks, probably sitting in C tier in likelihood, but Tropical Freeze did have some concept art of a descending animal buddy, and descending flights are good mechanics, so maybe it could happen. If Squawks remains on the sidelines and Quawks never comes back, then perhaps Floral the Squirrel can make a return. He only appeared in Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which is outside of the DKC series, but is pretty similar to Quawks as a mechanic for descending unsafe terrain. DK grabs the squirrel, and its tail becomes a parachute, allowing for a slow glide around obstacles. I actually kind of like this unique approach instead of just being a clone of Squawks, so I'd be pretty happy if Floral came back. Continuing with our buddies from Jungle Beat, we have Hoofer the Wildebeest. He runs really fast, smashes through obstacles, and is essentially a clone of Rambi in terms of his abilities. I think he's pretty cool, but because Rambi is 1,000 times more iconic, Hoofer's chances are 0 of ever coming back. Getting back to the classics, we have Enguarde. This swordfish is my favorite animal buddy, and it's arguably better than Rambi, as he was playable in all 3 of the SNES games, while Rambi was absent from DKC3. In water levels, the Kongs are typically helpless to undersea enemies. However, Enguarde gives the player the ability to fight back and changes how water levels are approached. He also has a charge attack and was given his own boss fight. When water levels came back in Tropical Freeze, I was flabbergasted that Enguarde didn't come with them. He would be so good for that gameplay, so I really want him back, and as he's a famous animal buddy, I think he has a really strong chance of returning one day. Another aquatic animal buddy is Glimmer the Anglerfish. Only appearing in one level of DKC2, Glimmer is less on the iconic side of things. Glimmer follows the player around and creates light, allowing the player to see in the darkness. Generally, darkness isn't that great of a gimmick in platformers, and water levels are disliked. And as Glimmer doesn't change up the water gameplay, he doesn't really need to come back. The Tropical Freeze silhouette level in the water is a good example of light and darkness being incorporated. Donkey Kong, despite being a tree climber, has a lot of friends in the water, and one of them is an unnamed whale from Country Returns. While there are official animal buddies, there are also a few that fall into a vague category of kind of being one and kind of not being one. This whale is one of those and acts as a moving platform for the Kongs over the water in Country Returns. Because swimming was reintroduced in Tropical Freeze, this whale probably won't come back. It's more likely that we get Orko the killer whale from Jungle Beat. As an aquatic animal buddy, Orko gives DK more mobility in the water and improves gameplay by being able to smash through barriers. I feel like Rambi is popular because it's cool to see an ape ride a rhinoceros, and I think Orko could be really popular because it's kind of cool to see an ape ride a killer whale. With some in and out of water gameplay, Orko should return in my opinion, but has C tier chances as he's a Jungle Beat character. A Jungle Beat buddy that I think has 0 chances of ever returning is the Helibird. These helpful birds assist DK by flying and carrying him to higher places within a level. Functionally, they're very similar to squawks, but squawks has the legacy of being more iconic and the ability to shoot eggs and attack, making squawks the better bird. A classic bird, of course, is the flightless bird, Expresso the ostrich. I'm pretty fond of this animal buddy, even though he only truly appeared in the original Donkey Kong Country. Expresso is also in a racing minigame of the DKC2 GBA port, which was actually pretty fun to play and I remember from my childhood. Expresso's gameplay is mostly about speed, and not about killing enemies or destroying stuff like Rambi. I think he's a strong place on a modern platforming level, like a speedrun level, and could coexist with Rambi if designed as a fragile, speedy character. Expresso should return, and I think has B-tier chances. Last of the original animal buddies is Winky the Frog. Winky is pretty charming and has the good platforming bonus of being able to jump higher, but doesn't have much legacy outside of being one of the OGs, so I doubt he'll ever come back. Frogs aren't as cool as other animals, and functionally his gameplay mechanics were improved elsewhere. Rattly, the rattlesnake from DKC2, functions similarly to Winky as a high-jumping animal buddy. Perhaps it's because snakes are cooler, maybe it's because Rattly's stages were better, but Rattly just exudes a more impressive aura. In the lore, according to the manual, he's a native to Crocodile Island and is actually rebelling against the Kremlings, so that's based. Rattly should come back in my opinion, and maybe has B or A tier chance depending on if the devs decide to have a high jumping mechanic. Another DKC2 buddy is Clapper the Seal, who only appears in 2 levels. This rare buddy isn't even directly playable, and acts more so as a level mechanic, like a switch that the player can hit to affect the status of lava or water. It's pretty immersive and cool that this is executed through Clapper, and contributes to DKC's charm. I don't think Clapper himself has high chances of returning, but its similar ideas could be done through new animal buddies in the future. An enemy turned into pseudo-animal buddy is the Blue Nibla from DKC3, only appearing in the level Fish Food Frenzy. It will eat fish enemies in the water, but it doesn't do so to just help the Kongs. It is required to satisfy its hunger, otherwise it will actually eat them. As it is also an enemy and a threat, it doesn't have true animal buddy status, but the level does have a no animal sign at the end, which gives it something in my opinion. This is one of the most unique and memorable stages ever, and while I don't think Nibbler will return, like Clapper, I think that something mechanically similar can be introduced in the future with new animals. This idea of an enemy turned temporary friend is very compelling for gameplay and story. The main animal buddy of DKC3 is Ellie the Elephant. In general, I think DKC3 is really underrated, and by extension, Ellie is pretty underrated as well. Ellie is actually very technical and has more abilities than almost every other animal buddy. Ellie can suck up water with her trunk and shoot water to kill enemies, giving environmental interaction and a projectile. Ellie can suck faraway barrels with her trunk, a mechanic to reach things far away, attack enemies, or create platforms by setting the barrels in the water. In a modern title, these mechanics could transfer, or new ones could be created. Elephants are very remarkable animals, and have the same presence as rhinos, so I think Ellie deserves a chance to come back, and that it's actually decently likely. Another technical animal buddy, and one of the best ones, is Squitter the Spider. This spider is doped for wearing shoes, but has projectiles as well. He can kill enemies by spitting webs, but can also create temporary webbed platforms. DKC2 and DKC3 both use this animal buddy effectively, as you can create platforms and kill enemies simultaneously on the fly. He's well deserving of coming back, but I don't think he would actually fit into a new title, and that Enguarde, Squawks, or Ellie are who are most likely to take spots or dev time. Rambunctious was in the beta of Donkey Kong Land. Because he was never fully developed or released, he's incredibly unlikely, if not impossible, to ever come back. He has horns, and one can see him charging through enemies, so he might function very similarly to Rambi, and it's kind of similarly relegated to the sidelines like Hoofer from Jungle Beat. Rambunctious is a great name though, so if they could redesign him or come up with new mechanics, it'd be great to see him one day. Last but not least, but maybe actually least, is Perry the Parallel Bird. This tiny, helpless bird flies directly above the player when collected in DKC3, grabbing high up items. You help the bird avoid obstacles by jumping, to make him mirror your movement and avoid things in his way. In a sense, it becomes an escort mission, and is a unique spin on gameplay, but isn't what I look for in an animal buddy, and I don't see him coming back. That is the full list of everything I consider to be animal buddies, and I really do hope that whenever we do get another DK game, that Nintendo and the devs think it is worthwhile to expand the animal kingdom and let the Kongs get the help from as many of their friends as possible. Furthermore, I think it'd be wise and fun if they bring back animal barrels that transform the player's Kong into the animal buddy directly instead of just making you ride them, creating bonus rooms or entire levels around those unique mechanics. This would give so many new level design options and ways for players to play the game and create a really goofy but fun game, which the DK series has always been. If you enjoyed the video and watched to the end, definitely leave a comment to help the algorithm. Like, what's your favorite animal buddy? Which one do you want to see back? Let's get more DK fans here on the channel. And subscribe if you haven't already so we can get to 3K. I'll see you all next time.